Okay, according to my iPhone, it's 6:30 p.m. So showtime.
Jack, I think we're waiting for John. Wait a minute. I'm letting him in right now.
And is Mark Liphart on?
Cool, Ernest?
I was waiting on Mark Liphart.
I don't see that name yet.
No, neither did I.
Oh, I see him now. He's in the waiting room. I'll let him in.
Okay, great.
Anthony, is John there?
Yes, John should be here now.
Okay, we can begin then, I hope. Welcome, everyone, to the Town of Wenham Board of Selectmen regularly scheduled meeting of September 8th, 2020. Diane Bucco wants me to say that. At 6:30 p.m. The three selectmen here and the town administrator is here and other invited guests.
Jack, just checking. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we're going to start with public hearings. And that I'm going to scroll down to that public hearing one.
Jack, I have it up too if it's easier for you.
Yeah, please.
Can you see
And
it?
I'm just seeing the Nikki Roebuck. Is there actually an agenda on the screen?
You should be seeing it says announcements.
Now I see it. I didn't see it until right now.
Yeah.
Okay, we have employee personnel policies, Tuesday, September 15th, 6 p.m. via Zoom. We have a gazebo donation discussion on Tuesday, September 15th, 7 p.m. via Zoom. I think I'll stop to talk about that for a minute. Mr. Tamboni has graciously decided to donate a medium-sized gazebo to the town of Wenham. And so the selectmen at the previous meeting decided that we should have a public hearing on this because we're not sure what level of enthusiasm there is for accepting this donation and particularly where it's located. We had a couple of ideas, which I'm not sure everyone is in concert with, so that we want to have a meeting on, again, Tuesday, September 15th, next week. Thirdly, Verizon cable licensing agreement. Hamilton Board of Selectmen is Monday, September 21st at 6 p.m. via Zoom. You can visit the recent news at wenhammass.gov for more information. We encourage the public to provide feedback on these items by submitting comments for the selectmen to N. Roebuck, N-R-O-E-B-U-C-K at wenhammass.gov and by attending the public hearing via Zoom. Can you scroll it down, Anthony?
Yeah.
Otherwise, I have to go back to my pad.
Nope, there you go.
Okay, annual hazardous household hazardous waste collection day. That's a biggie for me too. Hamilton Wenham residents are invited to bring all household hazardous waste to the Hamilton Wenham DPW yard at 577 Bay Road on Saturday, October 3rd, 2020, between 9 a.m. and 12 noon. Payment can be made by check only and payable to the town of Hamilton. Anthony, it doesn't say so, but I presume that you can make the check available when you drop the material off, right? Doesn't have to be done in advance.
Right, you can bring the check with you. That's my understanding.
But you don't know how much it is until you get there, I guess. I don't know. Please wear a mask and do not exit the vehicle. A full list of accepted items is available here in our meeting packet and in recent news at wenhammass.gov. For additional information, please call DPW department at, I guess that's our DPW department, at 468-5520, extension 6. Going on, Anthony, next.
Yep.
Okay, we're still looking for people to serve on our boards and committees, so we're requesting letters of interest for boards and committee openings. After our anticipated appointments later in tonight's agenda, openings will remain on the following boards and committees. 1, Conservation Committee. I'm kind of surprised that there's an opening there because that's usually with a very popular committee. Hamilton Wenham Community Access and Media. Open Space and Rec Committee. Wenham Connects Committee. Zoning Board of Appeals Associate Members. We are allowed to have 3. We have none right now. So it's extremely important we have at least 1 associate member because if a full-time member cannot fully participate in multiple meetings about a particular issue, that person is no longer eligible to vote when they get around to voting, and that has to be taken over by an associate member. So it's an extremely important position, and please, you don't have to have any particular legal background, although we prefer a legal background, an architect's background, or just somebody who's lived in Wenham for a while and is interested and is willing to serve. Council on Aging Board, there's another one, Hamilton Wenham Cultural Council, the Veterans Committee. How many openings do we have in the Veterans Committee? I think it's only one, is it?
Just one, yeah, just one left.
And that's because, was it Mike Derry? Somebody had to leave.
Um,
Mike
No.
Dern just joined, so it's somebody else left.
That's right.
Bob
Bob Breaker.
Breaker, yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks,
He
Nick.
left a while ago. He left 6 months ago. Okay, Wenham and Wenham Housing Authority. Please visit wenhammass.gov/volunteer after tonight's meeting for more information on the number of remaining openings, term lengths, and details on submitting your interest in appointment. So all we're really looking for is I'm going to go back to that for a second. All we're really looking for is, okay, I'm so-and-so, I've lived in town for so long, I have the time and availability to serve in this particular committee. My address is such and such, and that please consider my application. It doesn't have to be a letter. An email is fine. In fact, that's how most people respond to this, as opposed to a formal letter. So please, if you're confused about having a page and a half note, we're not looking for that at all. Just basically the bare facts that I just went through a minute ago. All right.
Reports.
Right, it's you.
Okay. All right, so a few things. On the grant front, we received a grant from the police department, received a grant for $25,565.95 from the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security for the FY20 Coronavirus Emergency Supplemental Funding Program. So that was great work. I believe Captain DiNapoli worked on that grant application, and Chief Perkins, and we were successful. So that's great news on that. The other grant that we received is the $133,923 from the Department of Energy Resources for the Green Communities Division. It's the Green Communities Grant. So the projects that we will be doing is listed down below there. And it's a great job. Vicky Missoni writes these grants and manages this program, and does a fantastic job. We've been really successful again in getting it year after year. So that's great. After we're done with these projects, we'll see a savings of about $10,000 a year in utility costs. So it's good news going forward too. And that's part of the criteria in that grant, is that you're going to have savings. And the last thing, well, one more thing, Police Department accreditation on-site evaluation begins September 15th. So I know that Captain DiNapoli has been working as the accreditation manager, and the whole department and the chief as well have just been working tirelessly on maintaining our accreditation. It happens every 3 years. Correct me if I'm wrong, Deputy DiNapoli. If I called you captain, I apologize.
That's okay.
Dep, this is for 3 years, right? The
It
accreditation?
is. Every
Yeah.
3 years, the assessors come in and review all our policies and files to make sure we're adhering to all the standards.
Yeah, and I know Dep's been working really hard on making sure that we maintain our accreditation, which is very important, especially in today's age. So thank you, Deputy, on that. Last thing I want to mention is Friday is the 19th anniversary of the 9/11 terrorist attacks. So Wenham never forgets, and the fire department will be hosting, along with the police, the 9/11's remembrance ceremony, and that will be taking place this Friday at 9:30 in the morning. If public wants to come down, we're just asking the police have face coverings, observe social distancing guidelines, and we really can only have 50, and I don't think we normally have anywhere close to that, but we could spread out in the town hall lawn, so we don't all have to be on the apron of the station. But thank you to Chief Kavanaugh and the fire department and the police department for participating and doing this year after year. It's very much appreciated. And that's all I have, Jack.
Anthony, this is John. I'd like to second that, what your commentary on the 9/11 hosting of the recognition of it. And for those who can be there, it's very, very important to remember those who were on the front line that were lost, and those who were just innocent victims within the building structures. Secondly, Anthony, if you might, for the public's sake, that $133,000 grant, if you could briefly review for the public what kind of projects you'd be looking at accomplishing.
Sure. And John, just before we move on to that, the 9/11s, normally the fire department graciously provides coffee and I think donuts.
Donuts or,
Yeah, but this year we're unable to do that because of the pandemic. So we'll just be having the ceremony and then dispersing. So just want people to know that. So going back to that Green Communities grant, the projects that we'll be working on is there's LED lighting at the library. That's $13,872. There's retro commissioning, and that's the HVAC system at the library, and that is $67,335. The iron rail, we're putting LED lights in the iron rail, that's $16,152. The steam trap repair at the iron rail building, that's $7,370. The Boy Scout barn at the iron rail will be getting new LED lights too. That's $10,035. The Council on Aging will be getting LED lighting. That's $9,159, and $10,000 for the administrative costs and the grant.
thank you. Those are all very worthy projects because those buildings are used quite often.
Yeah, they certainly are, and it's gonna, like we said earlier, it's gonna produce an annual savings of over $10,000 in utility costs. So it's a great story.
Great.
We're very appreciative of the governor's office and Green Communities for allowing us to be a recipient year after year.
Thank you, Anthony.
Okay, the next item is the consent agenda.
Yes.
That's John Clemenzi, but John, that's really a mistake. It really should be Gary. Gary is our clerk. Gary doesn't mind me turfing it to him. I would appreciate it. If not, we'll turf it back to John.
All right, well, I've got it then. This concerns the meeting minutes for the open session on July 28th, 2020, the August 11th, 2020 executive session, and the joint, that's the executive session joint with the ZBA on August 11th, 2020. So the motion is move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the consent agenda, including the following: open session meeting minutes of July 28th, 2020 and August 11th, 2020, and joint with the Zoning Board of Appeals executive session meeting minutes of August 11th, 2020 to be released. Any second?
I'll second your motion, Clemenzi.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Clemenzi, aye.
Unanimous. Thank you.
Okay. Gary, you have the next on the new business joint meeting with the Water Commission.
Coming up here. So this is to fill the vacancy caused by Ms. Madonka's departing the town, so he cannot continue to serve on the board. So it's the appointment until the next annual town election of Diane Dixon.
So Ernest, if Ernest can just call his meeting to order. The selectmen are already in session.
Thank you, Anthony. So I have Mark Liphart on the line as well. So the the Wenham Water Commission is in session. And if you'd like, I'll proceed. We have received the letter of interest from Diane Dixon, and so I move that the Board of Selectmen and the remaining members of the Wenham Water Commission vote pursuant to Massachusetts General Law C-121B, Section 5, and C-41, Section 11, to appoint Diane Dixon to fill the vacancy on the Water Commission until May 6th, 2021. Do I have a second, Mr. Lippart?
I second it.
And the commission has so moved.
It's a vote. So now that's going to be a roll call vote for both the Board of Selectmen and the Water Commission. So if you call yours, roll call, and then Jack as the chairman will call the Board of Selectmen and then declare the vote.
Okay, again, Mr. Lippart, are you in favor?
In favor.
And Mr. Ashley is in favor.
Jack Wilhelm. Gary, are you in favor?
Very in favor.
John, are you in favor?
I am, Clemenza, yes.
I am as well, so that's unanimous. Part of the selectmen and the board. So congratulations, Diane Dixon.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah, she is on the line. I don't know if she.
Yeah, and thank you, Diane, for that expression of interest, and we're glad to have you back on the board.
Oh, thank you for inviting me.
And Diane, this Gary, welcome to the board back in, I guess, and certainly was impressed with your resume and all your volunteer work with the watershed as well.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to come back and work on the commission.
So before we move on, since I have Ernest Ashley a captive for a second or two, so that I've been driving by the Wenham Lake lately, and I'm horrified at the low level of Wenham Lake. I've been in town for many years and I don't recall it being this low. And that, are you concerned about that?
A couple of things there. Of course, the Wenham Lake is not part of our
Right.
system. It is the
Right.
Salem Beverly water supply, and it is filled during the winter and early spring until May 1st, when they can take water out of the Ipswich River. It is at particularly low levels. Means they probably have used quite a bit of their water from the reservoir and the Putnamville Reservoir. One of the things, though, that I think that they also do with the Wenham Lake is when the water level is significantly lower than the groundwater table around it, is that they are somewhat mining the groundwater that is in the vicinity of that lake. So I know it gets a lot of attention when people come into town and they see that we have a water ban, but right now there is no water ban that the Massachusetts DEP can impose on Beverly.
They can voluntarily put a water bin in. They could do it on their own though, right?
They certainly could, and I think we could, as a water commission, even raise the issue of the very low water level in the Wenham Lake, actually drawing water from the Ipswich, as opposed to just being the reservoir water, but actually mining some of the groundwater at that point. But anyway, it's been a long-standing thing that we've had residents raise concerns about the very, very low water level there, as well as, the bans that we have on our.
Of course, those bans don't apply to people at Parsons Hill, correct?
Anybody within the town of Wenham would be subject to our water ban. Now, I believe Parsons Hill is a water.
It's on the Beverly water supply.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I could step in, the Parsons Hill is supplied by Beverly Salem, so actually they don't fall under because they're not used in the groundwater supply.
Okay, thank you, Eric.
Mr. Ashley, could I ask a question?
Surely.
When you say that they Beverly Salem Water Board are mining water, more specifically, what do you mean by that?
If the water level in that is at or above the water level surrounding it, groundwater discharge to the Wenham Lake. If they draw the lake down to a lower level, there is a flow of groundwater into the reservoir and the Wenham Lake. And so their procedure is, is typically to fill up all of their reservoirs before May 1st, and then just to draw off the surface water. But my thought is that if it's a very, very low level, then of the groundwater is also being drawn into the lake. And if the thought is that they only use surface water,
Right.
it may not be that clear cut. They may actually be purposely keeping that Wenham Lake low enough so that they get some inflow. And that would be.
So does that not indicate an effect on the town of Wenham's water supply, where we depend on wells going into the aquifers where this flow comes from?
Yes, in a very general sense. That's all we consider our bucket to be the Ipswich River Basin, which extends over to Wenham Lake.
It's quite a
Drawing
concern.
out wells or drawing the river, the water level very low in Wenham Lake all has an impact on how much water is in the Ipswich River Basin and then available for flow into the Ipswich River.
So by mining, you don't mean that they Beverly Salem Water Board has some wells somewhere?
No, they do not have wells, but that would be a general term for taking the resource out of the ground.
Okay. I think it's very concerning myself. We don't see it that low very often.
We'll put something on our agenda to discuss what our options are. As of the Water Commission, Diane has worked with the Ipswich River Water Association. I think it's a good topic for discussion so that we can understand what leverage we might have or what avenue we might pursue to contact EP about that, because it is taking water out that we are also asking our residents who have wells. And
Right.
our argument there is we're all in the same bucket.
That's right. Well, thank you very much for the explanation. And when would we hear back from you folks, do you think?
Give us a couple of meetings so that we can not only bring it up, but perhaps extend a inquiry to Mass DEP and see what kind of response we get.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
This is Jack Phillip again. This is, I'm sorry, who's that? Gary?
That was just, I just want to remind Ernest, after Jack's done, you'll just have to adjourn your meeting. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jack.
Whether it's just disconcerting to go by Wenham Lake. I know that's where the Salem Water Board is getting their water from, but it's our lake too. It's a visual place, and that there seems to be a real where we have a water ban starting in April 1st and May 1st, including private wells if they comply. And our lake is being drained. It's our lake, even though they own it. Our lake is being drained down to practically nothing, and there's no water ban. It doesn't seem right. And that how dry can it get? Is there some point? There must be some point where they just can't pump any more water out there. It's all groundwater, right?
I have not seen the water levels in either Longwood or Putnamville where they have the additional resources. You see occasionally water flowing into the lake through that pipe that is now exposed. So they may be getting to a critical situation themselves. And something that we can look into in our next meeting.
There's no forecast for rain in the next several days. So anyway,
no, it's pretty dry.
I'm looking forward to what kind of noise you can make about this for the citizens.
Okay. Thank you. And if there's no further business, we'll conclude the meeting of the Wenham Water Commission.
All means.
A second?
I second it, Mark Lippert.
And Ernest says aye. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ernest. Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you. So we don't have to conclude our meeting, right? Anthony, or what?
Nope, that's it. The vote's been taken in. it's been voted on, so we're on to next item, C.
Okay, appointments. Jim Purdy, who's was recently appointed by the appointing committee for the FinCom Finance and Advisory Committee. And I'm told unofficially that Jim was also elected as a new chairman of the Finance and Advisory Committee. Is that true, Anthony?
That is correct.
Okay. So traditionally, in the past, we've had a member of the Finance and Advisory Committee on the Audit Committee. It's a 3-member committee. Right now, we have myself, a neighbor of mine, Marty Croyle, who's a CPA, and Jim Purdy, who's not a CPA, but he's a member of the Finance Committee. So we have a 3-person committee, and I'm pleased that the Board of Selectmen moved to appoint James K. Purdy, otherwise Jim Purdy, as a member of the Audit Committee, effective September 8th, 2020, today, through June 30th, 2021, to the end of the fiscal year. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I second the motion.
Any further comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye, Clemenza.
Good luck, Jim. Look forward to you joining us. By the way, we'll probably be having a major audit committee in about 6 or 7 weeks to review the annual audit.
Thank you, Jim Purdy, very much.
Okay. Council on Aging Board, Mike Therian. I move that the Board of Selectmen appoint Mike Therian as a member of the Council on Aging effective September 8th, 2020 through June 30th, 2023.
I'll second your motion, Jack.
Any other comments on this? Mike was a long-term member of the Financial Advisory Committee. That committee limits members to 2 full terms. Mike served 2 full terms. I'm sure he wanted to continue on, but our bylaws don't permit that. So he's moved on to the Council on Aging Board. So that all in favor of appointing Mike? Aye.
Aye.
Clemenza, aye.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Therian, very much.
Yeah.
Mike's also on the Veterans Committee as well. Might know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Discussion approval of final authorization for the fire truck ban.
Yeah, so what this is, Jack, is just it's the final step that the board has to take in declaring that the fire truck will only be used for municipal purposes. So we're not gonna rent it out, I guess. And Deputy Baxter has confirmed that the estimate on the useful life of the pumper should be 25 years. So with that, that would be the motion for the board.
All right, I'll read it out.
Gary takes it. It's yours.
Right. I move that the Board of Selectmen authorize the clerk, that's myself, to sign the declaration of vote, which states that the maximum useful life of the fire truck to be financed with the proceeds of the $475,000 borrowing authorized by the votes of the town passed June 25th, 2020. That was question 5, and July 11th, 2020, Article 5, is hereby determined pursuant to General Law, Chapter 44, Section 7(1), to be 25 years.
I'll second your motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Clemenza, aye.
Jack Wilhelm, aye.
Cheeseman, aye. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's see. Who has this one? The iron rail.
Oh, okay, that's me. Thank you, Jack. All right, I'm going to do the motion and explain this. I move that the Board of Selectmen declare part of the property at 91 Grapevine Road available for disposition or lease, and identify the reuse for the establishment and maintenance of a cell tower that is legal and conforms to local zoning and as detailed in the request for proposal approved by the Board of Selectmen and issued by the town on August 20th, 2020. This is a longstanding issue that came up through the Iron Rail Commission in an attempt to hopefully generate not only some revenues for the town, but also to give us better cell phone and tower coverage in the East Wenham part of town. And so this would take a piece of land, very small in proportion, in order to set up this tower. And I think Jackie Bresnahan may know a little bit more about it, if she's on.
I am. Thank you, John. So tonight, this is just a vote to keep the town in compliance with the Mass General Law, Chapter 30B, procurement laws. We are just having the select board to do this vote that a portion of this property is available for lease. And we are currently in the process of the request for proposals for the property to hopefully find a vendor to build and maintain a cell tower from which the town will receive lease revenues. So this is just keeping us in good compliance with the procurement laws and will help us to move forward so that sometime in October, we will come back before the select board with final candidates for your interview and approval so that we can proceed with the permitting. The lease agreement will be finalized and we can proceed with the permitting for the applicant to build the cell tower at that property.
Jackie, I would ask you, have you already seen any interest in this, or is this going to be a first pass?
We have seen interest. We are in the middle of the procurement now, but we do have several interested bidders at this point, which is really exciting and promising. So there's not a ton of people in the business of doing this, but we do have a couple. I think we're up to 3 at this point, based on the update I received today. Vicky Missoni, who worked on the Green Communities grant, also helps us with procurement like this. So she sent me that update. So I'm optimistic that we'll have hopefully at least 2 proposals to review. Hopefully, I'm pretty confident that we'll get at least 2.
Excellent. Thank you, Jackie. All right. Any other questions or concerns? I'm sorry, did I get a second?
I'll go ahead with a second.
Thank you. All right. All those in favor?
Jack Will, aye.
Gary Cheeseman, aye.
Clemenza, aye. All right.
Thank
that
you
passes.
all.
Yep. Thank you much, Jackie.
Next agenda items, Gary's discussion potential approval of amending the Council on Aging bylaws. Take it away, Gary.
All right, so Jim Reynolds, over the last 2 years with his board, has been working on an update of the Council on Aging bylaws, which I think he said date back to 2008 for the last revision. So they've got that prepared. It's been reviewed. And tonight I'd like to move that the Board of Selectmen adopt the proposed amended version of the Council of Aging bylaws as requested by Director Jim Reynolds.
I'll second that.
Any comments?
I think that's a great idea to refresh and review and make more relevant any document that we have. So he's setting a good pace and a good standard.
Very well then. The roll call vote. Jack?
Aye.
John Clemenza, aye.
Gary Cheeseman, aye. Unanimous. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Gary. I have the next one. This is the Salem, discussion of the Salem and Beverly Water Board public hearing on September 10th, 2020 at 10 a.m. They want to acquire 32 Topsfield Road, Wenham, Mass. I hope this meeting is well attended. And I have lots of questions. The town received notice from the attorney representing the Salem and Beverly Water Board. 32 Topsfield Road in Wenham. To acquire property requires permitting by the Department of Environmental Protection. For a public hearing. There are approximately 10.26, 10 1/4 acres or 32 Topsfield Road, enough for one buildable and currently generates approximately $9,000 annually for real estate taxes. I have lots of concerns about this, and I voiced some of them when we talked about the reduction in Wenham Lake, but I don't know why they really want to buy this property. I don't think we've been officially told. I'm concerned about losing the $8,000 to $9,000 in rent, real estate taxes, because the Salem and Beverly Water Board is nonprofit organization. So we'll be taking this off the tax rolls, and why exactly they want this property, and is this the only property they want in Wenham? That is one of my several questions.
So our team, Jack, our team is online. So, Steve Wozahowski could answer that question. I believe, Steve, was it over 500 acres that the Salem and Beverly Water Board own?
Right?
Yeah, I believe so. I don't have the papers in front of me. I'm in Beverly right now. It comes to slightly over 10% of all of the land in Beverly is currently owned by the Beverly Salem Water Supply Board.
In Wenham, though, 10% of the land in Wenham.
I'm sorry, in Wenham. My apologies. A year ago, they bought another parcel at the end of Nelson Ave in Beverly. That's Wenham land. And that property had been on the market for years, and they bought it for $500,000, I believe, off the top of my head. And it was 25 acres, and it was a potential building site. So they're doing the same thing here, and they're continuing to, take land in Wenham that is not being used for the most part by the citizens of Wenham. I don't know what else I can tell you. I gave you some information, which I think is in your packet.
Yeah, so the rest of our team's online too. So Margaret's here, Missy's here, Conservation. I know that we got a report that the land is good for a septic system. The last time was, I believe, in 2008. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jackie, but around there. And it
2002, it was
was
permitted.
2002, thank you. And it was approved for I think at the time, a 6-bedroom house. So part of the problem, I think, Steve, we had discussed this, is that I think the resident was looking for about 850 for that 10 acres. And that's why it's been on the market for a long time. But, of course, it doesn't work for a developer to do something with that price tag on it. A lot of that land, I think Missy said, with the exception of 4 acres, I don't know if Missy's on the line, would be under Conscom jurisdiction because it abuts Wenham Lake. And, concerning to me when this first came up too, as Jack said, and Steve mentioned the 500 acres that they own, 10% of Wenham, yet we only get $8,000 on a payment in lieu of taxes from them. So, it's an immediate concern that it's time it gets addressed with them. So
Anthony, to clarify for the public, $8,000 is a one-time payment.
every year,
Annually, John.
annually,
they
yeah.
would pay that annually?
No, we're
Okay.
losing that, John, annually. We're losing.
Yes.
So we're losing it in this situation, John, but yes, 8,000 is all we get, Steve, right? $8,000 total.
That is correct. That's what they make. That's their pilot every year, around 8,000. In this case, this particular parcel right now is 8,000 right there that we will be losing. And if you make an application of what they pay per acre, or if you take the assessed value of excess land in Wenham, which is 15,000 an acre, you apply it to the 500 acres, then they're paying a paltry amount compared to what the land would be assessed at if it was just backland. That is not taking into account whether or not any of the land has the potential to support a house. That's in addition. But just treating all 500 acres as excess land, the town of Wenham is losing several $100,000 a year in property taxes.
That's very concerning.
So just so the public understands that there's 2 different $8,000 numbers. The 8,000 to 9,000 is what we'll lose on the property tax on this one parcel. The other $8,000 is the small amount that we're receiving on all 500 acres that they already own each year in lieu of the much higher tax rate.
Right.
But the first reference to $8,000, we lose annually.
Yes, on the 132 Topsfield Road property.
Correct. So you put a house there, you get $8,000.
No, Jack, if you put a house there, you get like $25,000.
Right, yeah.
It's John, not Jack.
Oh, okay. John, yeah, I'm sorry, it's John, yes.
Yeah, so that last time that I mentioned, John, it was approved for a 6-bedroom. Steve was telling us 6-bedroom sold in Wenham not too long ago for 1.5, 1.6 million.
Yeah,
So that's about 26,000 if that was built per that 2002 septic design. That's what we
Yep.
could be losing if that was.
I get you. So it could be considered like a 2-family or something.
No, just it's
A
really
large
good.
single family. So
Yeah.
Large single family. Yep.
Yep, 40 Topsfield Road, 40 Topsfield Road recently sold for $1.6 million.
Wow.
So that was a parcel that was also subdivided from the Dearborn Farm subdivision. So
That's
you've got a really good solid example of what could go on this parcel at 32 Topsfield Road. I mean, obviously it's all wooded. There's a lot of site prep. You would be jumping through hoops to put a house there, but it can be done, and it has been done. So,
and in today's climate where land is hard to find, buildable land.
correct.
Oh, anybody, do we know what the purchase and sale agreement is for? How much money?
I don't think they've released that information.
No.
When you say they, you mean the owner of the property or the Salem Beverly Water Board?
Salem Beverly. To
Well,
my
when they
knowledge,
come-
they haven't mentioned it in any of the emails that I saw. I did not see any indication of what the sale price would be. I would bet it would be, look, the property that they bought a year ago at the end of Nelson Ave, it had been on the market for a long time for $500,000 and nobody bought it. And they bought it for $500,000.
Well, I'm just curious, at the public meeting, this is a public meeting. Is it okay to ask how much they're going to, we can ask, are they obliged to tell us how much they're buying it for?
To my knowledge, as a real estate appraiser, no. I don't think until it becomes public, I don't see, but there may be other legal issues here that are way above my pay grade.
Well, it says a public hearing. What do we mean by a public hearing? What are we supposed to ask at a public hearing?
Well, that would be one good question, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think so. We're going to have a public hearing, but what can we ask? That's why do you want the property? That'd be my first question. And second,
I think it could just be an opposition of this purchase based on it's another 10 acres that's coming off our tax rolls, of which the Salem and Beverly Water Board is continuously buying up land around Wenham Lake, and their real estate portfolio is growing, and yet their pilot to Wenham has been the same since it was first developed back. God knows it's I don't have it in front of me, but it was a long time ago. Steve, I don't know if you remember the date.
I think it was the early 90s or something.
Yeah. So it's what we do is we have an outdated pilot, in my opinion, that needs to be
Updated.
Updated. Yes. Thank you.
Well, they're bringing their lawyers to the meeting. Do we have lawyers to represent us as well?
I have spoke to Lauren, and I don't know if her or Tom McInerney will join us. We can find out.
I would like to see that happen. And
But yes, we need some guidance here because, if I ask how much you're paying, what is the purchase and sale price? I said, well, we're not to tell you that. We don't choose to tell you that. Well, what do you choose to tell me? So we need some lawyer to tell us what is permissible for us to ask and then we respond to. Otherwise, this is a joke.
Yeah, excellent, excellent, Jack. You're absolutely right.
Just to reemphasize, we do need all other interested Wenham citizens to be on the meeting on this Thursday at 10 a.m. to express their opinions as well.
Good point.
Wait a minute, this Thursday, this week?
This week, yes, the 10th.
Okay.
Anthony, can we get something out to the citizens of Wenham, urging them to, I don't know how many people actually watch the board of selectmen meetings, but can we get something out from Nikki or one of your staff to say, it's very important that you attend the Zoom meeting. And by the way, what is the, what is the meeting number, meeting ID, I should say, and that for people to join, make it easy.
Okay, we'll work on that. We'll advertise that. Nikki's putting it on the website right now, and then we'll put it out on social media too. So that'll be done.
And there's an agenda for this meeting. Has the Salem and Beverly Water Board published or is going to publish an agenda for the meeting?
They just published that they're having a public hearing for this purpose.
Well, most hearings, whether they're public or not, usually have an agenda.
Yeah, I don't have what they sent in your packet, but that's all I got. So it just said that they were having a public hearing for this purpose.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure they're doing this because they're required to do it. But we have no clue of what we're permitted to ask and what they're obligated to tell us. So I think we should do a little homework on that. For a lawyer.
Yeah, we should really rehearse this with our attorney.
Okay, kind of discouraging. Okay, let's see what we can do. And by the way, there might not be, if Ernest Ashley can join us at that meeting, that'd be very helpful because I'd like him to ask about the Wenham Lake and this groundwater business, which is above my pay grade, and draining that and so forth. And do they have any intention of having restrictions on Salem and Beverly and Parsons Hills watering? And that because the rest of the towns were doing this since either May 1st or April 1st. I think it was May 1st. It could have been April 1st. And so that we're concerned about the whatever Ernest Ashley said about draining off some groundwater around Wenham Lake and the Wenham. Yeah. And so that he's more expert at this than I am, other selectmen are. So it'd be helpful if he was there to ask some intelligent questions.
So Anthony, can you please send Ernest a note and request his attendance with us?
Yes, we will do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that along with the okay. So we'll give it a college try here and see what we can do. And that I'm not up to it anyway. And I'm really interested in what the hell they want to do with it. Why do they want it? Okay. We better find that out now if we can. Okay, next, I think it's me. Discussion of potential approval for October 17, 2020 special town meeting at the Buca School. So as most people know, we usually have a special town meeting in the fall. October 17th is certainly in the fall. This is more different than other special town meetings because we put off most non-financial issues in order to truncate the annual town meeting to keep it short or shorter than otherwise would be, to encourage people to come. That worked. We had 426 people, citizens that came to the meeting. I think that's a new record for Wenham. We're all pleased that of all the work Anthony and the other people in town, the police department, fire department did. I don't want to leave anybody out. And so now we're going to have the second part 2, and that we've chosen Buca School. We don't think that we need to have another outside meeting. We think that we're not going to have, it would be shocking if we had 426 people show up at Buca School, which we couldn't accommodate. But we think that with the quorum issues, I think the quorum is still 125. Is that right, Anthony?
Yeah, 120.
120, okay. And that, so we want to have it in the multi-purpose room, the gymnasium at the Buca School. That's our recommendation. And I know that Diane Bucco is interested in us at least discussing, if not changing, the quorum requirement. And she's looking for us to consider reducing it so that from 120 to something lower than that. She's worried, and I can understand why, that we might not make the quorum. If we don't meet the quorum, there's no meeting. Meeting is adjourned. And by the way, I want to mention that Tony Bahari has graciously accepted our invitation to again act as the interim town moderator. So that I'm going to move the motion and then turn over my two fellow selectmen to comment on some of the items I just. I move that the Board of Selectmen set the location for the October 17, 2020 special town meeting at the Beswick Bucca School located at 1 School Street, starting at 10 a.m.
I'll second your motion, Jack.
Thank you. Let's start with Gary. Gary, any thoughts on quorum reduction?
Well, I just wanted, first off, check with Anthony that I think when we were planning for the first town meeting, that we do already have surveyed the Bucher Auditorium. So we have sufficient space with all the precautions, so the public should be free to come and know that we'll have the social distancing set up and PPE will be required and so forth. So yeah, I think we can reduce the quorum, given that those people that are interested in these articles are going to show anyhow that they've been published for over 3 months. They've been on the available. So what do you think? Cut it down to 60 or 70, whatever.
I was thinking more like 90. I was thinking along the terms of 90, because we want to have a representative town meeting. And you get to 50 and 60, I think that people could question whether that's really representative or not. But 90 is a 30-person reduction. And I think that we can, that's just, I picked the number I thought was a reasonable number. But, it's just an arbitrary number. But I think it's, it does, I think, it's more representative of the town than 60 is, and it gives us a chance to not have a quorum. I don't know. It's
So
just,
I think the main thing is to get the word out prior to the meeting that all the precautions that we followed at the July meeting will still be in place. You'll have the social distancing, and you'll be very safe coming, and that, we need at least the 90 people there, if that's the number we can go with. What do you think, John? 90?
Before I answer that question, I would just comment that because we have the big windows in that building, there could be very adequate airflow, almost like we were outdoors. Secondly, to the point of attendance, I would first find out how many people we can accommodate with the 6-foot space distancing before I would go along with changing the quorum.
Did we do that survey, Anthony? Numbers wise, how many would fit?
Well, we have both rooms. We have the gym and the multi-purpose room for our town meeting. So I don't have the number in front of me, so we can get that. So we can certainly put this on the agenda if that's the wishes of the Board of Selectmen to vote on this for the 22nd, because under the governor's order, you have to advertise this for 1 week before you vote on it. So we can advertise it that you're going to be taking this up at the 22nd. And at that point, we can have a number on what it could accommodate, following the same guidelines that we did for the annual.
Well, why don't you see if you can get that number and get it out to us ahead of time so we have time to think about it too.
Yes, yeah, I know that Tom Gary's pretty busy getting the schools open, so we'll do our best to do that.
Thank you.
any other thoughts, Gary?
No, I think, 90 sounds like a reasonable number, well represented. And I think the main thing to get the people to come out and attend is to reassure them that it's going to be safe, just like the July meeting was.
Right, good point.
Yep.
Should have mentioned that. Okay. Town meeting warrant.
I don't think, was there a vote?
No,
No, not taking a vote.
You're voting,
No,
you're voting on the location.
Just the
Okay.
location.
You had a motion and a second. I don't remember hearing the roll.
We didn't, because I thought,
We did.
okay. Let's do it. Let's start again. I recommend that we selected Bucas School for our town meeting on October 17th, 2020 at 10 a.m.
Second,
Okay, further discussion? All in favor? Gary?
Gary, I.
John?
Clemenza, aye.
Jack Wilhelm, aye. Okay, we dotted the i's, crossed the t's. We'll take it in terms of accommodations and quorum issues at the next meeting. Use of free cash to fund fiscal 2011 capital improvement program. Why don't you take this over, Anthony?
Sure. So these are it's 9, but it's actually only going to be 8 articles that were pushed off from the annual for the October 17th special town meeting. So between tonight and no later than next meeting on the 22nd, the board has to do 2 things. You have to vote to insert these articles onto the warrant. And the second thing is you can, or you don't have to, but a recommendation of the board. So I have slides. We can go through them one at a time. So the first one is the use of free cash to fund the capital improvement program. So here are the items A through J. I don't know if you want me to read them. I'll be happy to. If not, I'll just move on to the next slide.
Why don't you read them?
Sure. All right, so we have from the highway department, we have road capital, 45,000. The fire department is protective gear for 30,800. Fire department is the SBA, and that's their breathing, self-contained breathing apparatus. That's 15,000. For IT, we have replacement computers of $10,000. IT, we have the website upgrade, $13,500. Iron Rail, we have the septic system design for $10,000. Police department, we have replacement cruiser for $42,000. Police department, we have year 1 of a 2-year plan to replace rifles, 5 this year at $7,000. Library, we have a server replacement, $18,000, and the library roof replacement of $75,000. The monies, as we said, is coming from free cash, and the library, approximately 61,000 of the library projects will be paid for by Hamilton. These, like I said, these were prior approved by the finance committee and the BOS, and now we're just bringing them back up to insert in the special. So with that, if you choose to do your recommendation tonight, there's 2 motions, one to insert and then one for the recommendation.
I suggest we move that we insert it, but let's take our recommendations up at the next meeting. That's my suggestion to my 2 colleagues.
Yes, I agree with that, Jack. And question, Anthony, what is the trigger when we vote library expenses that causes us not to forget to bill Hamilton?
$1. So anything that we spend on the library, they're getting 2/3 of that bill.
Well, that's not the answer to the question. The question is, what is the trigger that causes us to bill Hamilton for $1 or $500,000?
So the accountant does it at the end of the year. He reconciles all of our joint programs that we are responsible for, and Hamilton does the same thing. Once they do that reconciliation, they send an invoice to the other town. We get one from Hamilton, they get one from us saying this is what your assessment is.
So we do a reconciliation for all that we do with Hamilton at the end of the year.
Right, as they do with us.
Okay, got it.
I read the motion, the first one, but not the second. Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to insert the use of free cash to fund fiscal 2021 capital improvement program article, should be the in there, right? The capital improvement program article onto the warrant for the October 17, 2020 special town meeting, subject to approval as to form by town council. Do I hear a second?
Second your motion, Jack. John.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Gary, I.
Clemenza, aye.
Jack Wilhelm, aye. And the second one, I suggest we take up whether we want to vote favorably or unfavorably or not or vote at all at the next meeting.
Next meeting, sure.
Next meeting.
So the next article is transfer from the water surplus for water-related supervisory control and data acquisition. That's the SCADA hardware and software. So this is 100,
Motion.
this is
If the
100.
town will vote to transfer the sum of $150,000 from the water surplus for the purchase of supervisory control and data acquisition, SCADA, if I'm pronouncing it right, hardware and software to be used for monitoring the town's water systems, including all incidental and related expenses. Provided further, however, that if such amounts have not been fully expended by June 30th, 2021, the balance of such appropriations shall close to the Water Department Capital Reserve Account. Wait a second.
Second,
That's the most, that was a description. So the motion is,
Oh,
Right.
God. I wasted my breath.
that's all right. Sounded great, Jack.
Move the Board of Selectmen vote to insert the transfer from water surplus for water-related supervisory control and data acquisition. I thought it sounds familiar. Hardware and software article onto the warrant for the October 17, 2020 special town meeting. So just read that. Subject to approval is to form by council. What didn't I read right?
I think you did read it right.
Anthony, you're the one.
Well, that's the first time you read it for this article. You read subject to
No.
approval is the
When I say
form.
scatter in there, how many more scatters did I have?
Yeah, well, this is the motion. The other one was just a description, so it was describing the same thing.
But
so
here's,
need a second,
John, any further comments?
No, I don't think so, because this is
Anybody want me to
coming.
read it? Anybody want me to read it again?
No, thank you.
All in favor? Aye.
Clemenza, aye.
Cheeseman, aye.
All right.
Oh, the third one, the next one is the bylaw amendment. This is the recodify the general bylaws. I'll just go right to the motion.
Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to insert the bylaw amendment recodified general bylaw article on the warrant for the October 17th, 2020 special town meeting, subject to approval as to form by town council. And by the way, I believe this is the Paul Weaver special. He's been working on this for like 2.5 years. He was
Yes.
hoping to present this in the spring, was disappointed he couldn't. He's assured us that he will be available for the October 17th meeting. And he's the one that worked in this for a long time. And I wouldn't want anybody else to present this other than him. And so we're very pleased that he can make himself available and present it. He's got stature for this, and that I think you can answer just about any question about bylaws that anybody can ask. So I'm pleased that he's willing to do this.
And for what it's worth, Jack, I think it goes back a lot longer than 2 to 3 years.
No, he's been working on this for 2 or 3 years. Isn't that
Yeah,
longer than that?
I think so. Yeah, it almost
All right.
seemed like indefinite amount of time.
Well, it's been a long time. So do I hear a second?
Second your motion, Jack. Clemenza.
Further discussion? All in favor? Gary?
Gary Cheeseman, aye.
Jack Wilhelm,
Clemenza,
aye.
aye.
All righty, next.
All right, the next one is part of that. It's zoning the bylaw amendment, recodified the zoning bylaws. So there's some corrections, updating. There's clerical amendments and grammatical corrections to the zoning bylaws. So this is part of Paul's project too.
Yeah.
So
Read the motion. Move the Board of Selectmen vote to insert the zoning bylaw amendment, recodify zoning bylaws article on the warrant for October 17th, 2020 special town meeting, subject to approval as to form by town council. Here a second.
I'll second your motion, Jack.
Further discussion? Any discussion?
Excuse me, Jack, I just wanted to let the board know that the planning board will be holding their public hearing regarding the amendments to the zoning bylaws on Thursday. So they'll have a recommendation to the planning board to the Board of Selectmen early next week on this one.
Very good. When is that meeting, by the way?
They are meeting on Thursday night at 7:30.
Okay.
This is also part of the recodification project that Paul Weaver started. And it started before I got here, so it's probably been at least 5 years anyway. But this was part of that whole project. So the zoning bylaw part of it, the planning board has to hold a hearing for. So they will do that Thursday night, and then they'll have their recommendation for the Board of Selectmen next week.
And I think we had a motion in the seconded. All in favor?
Terry Cheeseman, aye.
Clemenza, aye.
Jack Willem, aye. Thank you. Next.
The next one, we're not gonna, the Historic District Commission withdrew. That was the bylaw amendment for the demolition delay. So we're gonna skip that. The next one is the local adoption for the meals excise tax. So I just wanna go right to the example. So right now, the current meals tax is 6.25% set by Mass General Law. So an example, $10 meal would cost $10.63 to the consumer. So if we adopt the local option, which is 0.75%, that brings the meals tax up to 7%. So the example now is that $10 meal would cost $10.70 to the consumer. The state gets 0.625 cents, and 0.75 cents now will go to the town of Wenham. So this is something that last time that DOI had data on this was 2 years ago. And we'd be missing out on about $15,000 annual in meals tax collections. There's 241, I believe, other communities in Massachusetts that have already adopted this of the 351.
Okay, do we have a motion coming up here?
It's right there.
Move the Board of Selectmen vote to insert the local adoption meals excise tax article onto the warrant for October 17, 2020 special town meeting, subject to approval as to form by town council. Do we hear a second?
I'll second your motion, Jack. Clemenza.
Any further discussion?
Anthony, one point, I believe you said that this also, we should point out, comes at no overhead cost for this, right? The state runs all the paperwork on this program and just sends us a check.
Yeah, that's correct. Nothing, Gary, you're absolutely right. They just send us the money.
Good point. Thank you. All in favor?
Gary Cheeseman, aye.
Clemenza, aye.
Jack Willem, aye.
The next article is the local adoption for the room occupancy tax. So very similar to the meals tax. I'll show you the example here. So the current room occupancy tax rate in Massachusetts is 0.7%. So if you go and rent a room for $100, it comes to $105.70 approximately. I'm sure there's going to be other fees attached to that, and all of that $5.70 goes to the Commonwealth of Mass. If we adopt the local room occupancy tax rate, it will jump from 5.7 to 6%. So we get 0.3%. So on that same example of $100 room cost, there'll be $106 that will be collected, of which $5.70 goes to the state and $3 goes to the town.
Does that include Gordon College?
They don't have a hotel. This would be Airbnbs and anybody that's renting like through Airbnb. So there is, that I saw in town, there's at least one, maybe two, that rents rooms part of Airbnb, and the governor's legislation a year ago now taxes those just like a hotel. So with that, I do the motion.
All right.
I would have to ask you, how do you track something like this? I mean, if I rent a room in my house or my house, whatever, how would anybody in the town ever know that?
You have to be licensed, registered, and so the Commonwealth of Mass gets that information. And then we don't, again, this is like the meals tax, we don't have to do anything. They basically notify the person that's doing short-term rentals of the town's adoption, and they will collect that extra 0.3%.
So anybody renting a house or a room or whatever is monitored by the state, not the town of Wenham.
Well, it should be both. Jackie, you on the line?
I'm here, yes.
Yeah, so do we have any rooming houses, or Jeff, that we currently do in town?
I believe at this time, the only thing that's permitted would be things falling under the Commonwealth's Airbnb licensing. We don't have anything that would fall under local B&B licensing in current operation.
Okay.
Other questions? Okay, move that the Board of Selectmen vote to insert the local adoption. Did I already read this? Room occupancy tax article on the warrant for October 17, 2020. Special time meeting subject to approval as to form by town council. Do I hear a second?
I'm
Second.
gonna, okay.
John?
Yeah, I heard the second. I'm still confused. I'm not sure what value there is in this at all.
Just a little. Just a little.
Just very little, I guess. I
Well,
don't
when Airbnbs take off and we have 50 of them, it might count.
know. All right, I'll go along with it. To me, this is useless, but that's okay. I'll go along with it.
It's not going to meaningfully affect your tax rate. That's
Well, that's true.
Maybe they'll build a hotel up at the
yeah,
Penguin Ball.
Build the Lane.
that's right. All in favor so we can get by this damn thing?
Clemenza, aye.
Eastman, aye.
Gary, very good.
Eastman, aye.
Okay, the
All
next one, there's an easement on the National Grid, for National Grid on town of Wenham property. If you remember back in about April, I believe it was April 28th, the Board of Selectmen granted a temporary easement. And that was for that food pantry project at Lodge Row. So you granted the temporary, the town meeting grants the permanent easement. So that's what we're doing here, is we're bringing this to town meeting to pretty much just grant that easement that you temporarily put on.
Put it in place. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Board of Selectmen vote to insert the easement for National Grid on town of Wenham property. Property article onto the warrant for the October 17, 2020 special town meeting, subject to approval as to form by town council. Here a second.
I'll second your motion, Jack Clemenza.
Further discussion or any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Gary?
Clemenza, aye.
Eastman, aye.
Okay. This is the last one. So I'm gonna see if I can, let me take this, Anthony.
You want the motion? Yeah.
Yeah,
Or do you want the previous that explains it, Jack?
I want the previous. Thank you.
Okay.
So anybody in town can fill out a form called a citizen petition. And if there's 10 signatories on this petition, the petition gets to be presented at town meeting and voted on. So currently, a citizen of Wenham, has to be a citizen of Wenham, did indeed come up with a citizen petition with 11 signatories. Fundamentally, and I'm just truncating this, to move the town, change its bylaws to have a 5-member Board of Selectmen as opposed to a 3-member Board of Selectmen. Again, I'm summarizing it, and that there wasn't much more to it than that. And so we're obligated, selectmen are obligated to put that on the warrant, and which we're doing, and we will in a moment anyway. And that it's obligatory to do that. And the person who actually circulated this petition wanted it on the annual town meeting, but agreed to have it postponed until a special town meeting. We'll also have to say that whether this passes or it doesn't pass, it's not going to make any difference this year for the number of selectmen or next year, because there's a form that the state, a paperwork the state requires. If you want to go from 5 to 3 or 3 to 5 selectmen in the town, you have to fill out certain paperwork, which this citizen did not do. This person will be presenting this in the town, but regardless of the vote, yay and nay, it's not going to actually affect the number of selectmen that are elected annually from the town. So I just thought I'd say that, and we will be repeating something like that when we have our annual town meeting on October 17th. So that's the Cliff Note version of this. So I'll read the citizen, move that the Board of Selectmen vote to insert the citizen petition article onto the warrant for the October 17, 2020 special town meeting, subject to approval as deformed by town council. Do I hear a second?
I'll second your motion, Jack Clemency.
Anybody, either John or Gary, want to comment on this?
No, I think you gave the full explanation there, that it's
Okay.
mandatory.
Okay, I didn't mean to cut you off. Is that it? Okay.
Good.
John, anything?
I would just say that I find it a little bit discouraging that anybody would want a C5. I cautioned Hamilton to stay away from it some years ago, and it's not done them any good service, our good neighbors over there, because trying to find competent people who really devote their time and attention to the issues and needs of our town is not an easy task. We have enough trouble trying to fill some of these simple boards and committees to get people on the 3-member board consistently has not been an easy task either.
I'll just make one other gratuitous comment that I was provided by, I think it was Jackie Bresnahan, and that could be Anthony, that the state publishes statistics on how many towns in Commonwealth of Massachusetts have 5-member boards versus 3-member boards. And they truncate it by, or describe it by the number of citizens in the town. So for towns under 5,000, which is the lowest denominator, and we have, excluding Gordon College, approximately 3,800 citizens in town. 94% of the towns in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts choose to have a 3-member board of selectmen. As you go up north of that to 10,000, 50,000, 100,000. So the higher you go, more towns opt to have a 5-member board. Excuse me, when you get up to 100,000, 150,000, whatever. But overwhelmingly, as I just said a minute ago, 94% of towns in our volume are citizens.
Well, there's the logic I was getting to, I guess, without realizing it.
Well,
So
anyway,
thank you for the statistics, because that validates my concerns.
So this will be on there. I think we just. I move and second that. Yes, I did. And that, so all in favor of putting it on there. We don't have any choice, by the way. Gary.
Jason, aye.
John.
Lindsay, aye.
Jack Wilhelm, aye. So more to come on that at October 17th. So, we don't have any other new business, and we're 11 minutes early. We estimated we'd be done by 8 at 7:50. 7:49. That's it. So I move that we end this meeting.
I'll second your motion, Jack. John Clemency.
Gary, all in favor? Aye. Gary?
Aye. Clemency, aye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
You too.